Here we are.
Here we are again. Terry Earthwind here, along with the fabulous
Linda Vettrus-Nichols.
And our super guest, Steena Marie. Thanks for being here, Steena.
Yay. Thanks for having me.
This could be fun. This is a high vibe conversation about dating and curiosity. I'm curious how this is going to go. So I can't wait. I'm going to pass it off to the fabulous Linda, and we're going to have a conversation.
Right? Yeah. Well, Steena and I have had some interesting conversations about dating and when curiosity came in there for her. Excuse me. And one of the things I remember is how she tested the people that she was dating by telling them no. And that's like one of my favorite stories, but I'm sure you won't give all the details of that one here. So that's what I remember the most. So yeah, whatever's coming up for you, Steena, when you hear the word curiosity. In fact, when I said that to you, dating came up. So yeah, so tell us a little bit more.
I love that when you're just telling that story about kind of testing, really what it is like testing your own boundaries. Mm-hmm. You know, like when I say no to someone, how do they respond?
Right.
And that's such a beautiful thing to do in dating. But as you were saying that, I thought, I actually did this with like the very first boy that was ever interested in me in like 6th grade.
Really?
Because yeah.
I got you thinking way back because we talk all the time. I haven't heard this one. This will be good.
Oh my goodness. And I have a 5th grade son right now, right? So like last night we were just talking about like I get to start sharing these like awkward middle school memories with my kids, and they want to hear every word. I have a captive audience, so I'm sharing all the things. And so in 6th grade, my locker was 2 lockers over from the boy that I kind of had a crush on, but I didn't know that he liked me. Okay. And in between our lockers was one of my good friends. And so, you know, when you're in middle school, that's like a big deal because then you're really close to him all the time. And he wanted to ask me to a dance. My good friend told me, hey, he wants to ask you to a dance. And to the dance. And I was like, well, you know, he needs to ask me himself. And she even followed me out of school one afternoon with a stuffed animal that was from him and was like, he really wants you to go with him. And I said, no, he needs to come to me himself.
Oh gosh, that's so you. I love it.
And I totally got that from my parents, you know, who like, you didn't ask somebody out or break up over a text or an email or a chat. You know, I was in that age where we started to do like instant messaging and stuff like that. And it was very much like you ask someone to their face. It's the respectful thing to do. And if you really want it, then that you need to have the courage to do that.
Right.
So that was like my first little crush. And the sad part of the story is I didn't go to the dance with him because he didn't ask me himself. And about halfway through the dance, he was sitting out in the hallway sad the whole time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to at least dance with him. And I went to find him and he left the dance early. So I pretty much crushed his soul.
Poor bye-bye.
But fun fact, he now follows my Instagram stories. So
I love it. Right?
So dating and boys became this part of my life. Like I was this straight A student. I was academic. All of my teachers loved me. My parents were so supportive of me. And dating was like this place that I could be just a little bit rebellious, you know, like I figured out like, how can I follow the rules, but also like have my own, you know, my own thing. And
that's our girl.
Yeah. So like my first real boyfriend in about 8th grade was a friend of the family, you know? So it was like somebody my parents knew. Okay. And I knew I wasn't going to have a boyfriend in 8th grade unless it was somebody that my parents strongly approved of their whole family.
Right.
So that's how I had my first boyfriend and, you know, my first kiss. But as a teenager, you learn very quickly, like how to sneak around and how to get away with things. Everybody does it. Everybody knows this. And we like to kind of pretend that somehow we're ever going to stop kids from doing that, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, it's their job.
Yeah. And so the curiosity was like, there's this place in my life that's kind of untouchable. Like I kind of knew that like my parents were only going to ask so many questions. Yeah. My teachers certainly weren't going to say anything about it.
Right.
I wasn't in a peer group that was going to be real like intrusive. And so you kind of have this like little bubble where you get to explore part of yourself. And it just made me really curious about like other people and about, you know, sexuality. And like, as those things started to grow, as I grew and through high school, and dated much older boys, it was like, I was learning this part of myself that I didn't have much of an outlet for otherwise.
Right.
And it was like my own secret, quiet little rebellion, if you will.
Nice.
So yeah, so then as an adult, young adult, I got married 3 days after my 18th birthday. Wow. Or 19th birthday, excuse me. So newly 19 and got married.
Right.
And I largely got married because there was so much pressure in the church that I was, you know, kind of had become part of a church myself. Yeah. And when I say the church, I mean like, you know, Christianity as a whole. There's this pressure to be pure and save yourself for marriage. And so I was like, all right, well, that's what we need to do then. We need to get married and like have this relationship be blessed. But then 10 years after getting married, I ended up having an open marriage and dating for a year. And it was like all of the experiences that I wasn't mature enough to have as a teenager, because as a teenager, you're kind of fumbling around in the dark. You have no idea what you're doing. Everything's new. Like everyone else is also fumbling around. So it's kind of like if you have a good experience as a teenager with dating or your sexuality or any of those things, it's basically because you bumped into someone in the dark, you know. It's not deliberate. It's not intentional. It's sort of like magic. It just happened. But that's a fun thing about curiosity, right? Is like, you know, is the fumbling. And it's that curiosity, you get to make mistakes and you get to learn your lessons. And there's not like a right or wrong when we're talking about getting curious. Mm-hmm. And there's no like mission or thing you're supposed to perform and do and be and achieve. It's just learning. You're like, oh, didn't know that before. And then you ask another question and you learn a little more.
Right.
And I found the same thing to be true when I was dating as an adult. Now I have, you know, a decade of experience in a long-term relationship and in exploring my sexuality and myself and motherhood and like, you know, all of my trauma drama stories. Say, Linda, that I had all of that like under my belt. And so dating was such a different experience. Yeah. And I got to be curious with a little bit more maturity and a little more intention and like have the lights on, you know, to see things more clearly and like ask better questions and more interesting questions and learn things about myself, learn more things about myself than just about dating or just about, you know, other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the purpose of dating, right, is to learn about yourself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah. So it was like it's a fun evolution to like reflect on what was dating and curiosity like from 6th grade all the way up until I was, you know, 30 years old.
Right.
And dating again and kind of felt like dating for the first time.
I bet.
So.
Yeah. So yummy. Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. That was like awesome. Nice little snapshot of you and your life. The down and dirty quick version.
Right.
I love it. Oh, thank you so much, Steena. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for stopping in. I do speak. I didn't speak all the way through this.
You're kind of mesmerized.
Yeah,
Good on ya.
yeah. I'm
That
just
doesn't
like,
happen often.
oh yeah, a lot of reflections from my elementary, but I'm not going to
Right.
go there today.
Oh, boy, this man started early.
Yeah. I was the older man of my elementary school class. I had to wait an
Oh,
extra year, right? So stories to be told.
Got married young. And so he kind of had his Steena heyday when he was in his 50s, actually. His daughter's like, you're turning into a regular playboy there, Dad.
Like I say, stories to be told.
Right?
Lovely having you here. What a great conversation. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for stopping in and watching.
Bye.